Right off the bat, we can tell that this is a 1930s interpretation of the past. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was released in 1937 and was the first animated feature-length film. So it was really based on real people and real garments. Take a look at the model for Snow White. So Snow White's face is really based on 1930s starlets like Hedy Lamarr, with the dark hair that's short and coiffed, the big eyes, the small lips, and the arched eyebrows. There's actually a really interesting overlap here because puffy sleeves were pretty fashionable in both the 1930s and the 16th century. Sleeves were detachable and tied onto the dress. One way that these sleeves were decorated was through either slashing or painting. At the top of the sleeve, we can see an example of painting, strips of fabric that were sewn around the sleeve, revealing the smock underneath. Let's go close in on Snow White's sleeves here. You can see there's contrasting fabric, and it looks like it could be painting with those strips that reveal the other fabric underneath. Another method of doing this is called slashing, so making small slits in the fabric and then pulling pieces of the smock through, creating little puffs. The goal was really to show off the fabric underneath. Textiles were incredibly valuable during this time period, so if you had it, you wanted to show it off as a way to display your wealth. You can see Snow White's collar here, but it would probably look a little more like this one here. She could have been wearing what was called a partlet, which is a rectangular piece of cloth that's tucked into the neckline of the dress, kind of to fill it in. Over that could be worn a ruff, which was a unisex accessory. The ruff was basically a piece of stiffened or starched linen that was often trimmed with lace and then pleated to create that dimensional shape. For this look, Snow White is wearing these cute little pumps with bows on them, and these are straight out of the 1930s. The shape of the heel really says 1930s to me, and the little bows look like they could be shoe clips, which were very fashionable at the time. Not many shoes survive from this time period, and if we're really looking at portraiture, you don't really see shoes because the skirts were so long. Snow White's hair is probably the most 1930s aspect of her look because it's short and curly and she has this cute little bow. Disney really wanted these characters to look like movie stars because that's what the audiences were going to the movies to see. In the 16th century, most of your hair would actually be covered by a hood. This particular example is called a French hood. The French hood is a small headpiece made on a stiffened frame with a long veil attached to it.
So here's what Snow White's dress would have looked like compared to the original Disney look.